Good afternoon, gang. David Guffel, Thinker Farmer here. I'm here at the Archwood Farms in the Wakefield paddock. We've been bale grazing for the last about 2 weeks. We kind of stopped, as you've probably seen from a previous video, and we went ahead and grazed some of our stockpile that wasn't going to hold nutritional value through the winter, because a lot of it was clover and also some mostly clover, but there was probably also some orchard grass in there, and I wanted to get that grazed before returning to fescue. We've got about another 2 weeks that we're going to bale graze in this paddock, and we're going to have this grazed down pretty hard, so it's going to need a long recovery period, and then we're going to go back to pretty much standard grazing. Right now I'm sitting on top of a hay bale if the outlook looks a little strange. It's Sunday afternoon. It's my weekend on duty. I went ahead and moved them here, and they've been quiet about the last, I guess it's been 20 minutes now. I've been sitting here just observing them, and I don't really have a specific agenda for this video, but what's coming to mind, and I thought I'd just talk briefly about, is the fact that often as farmers, we feel that we have to come up with an elegant solution to every problem. And oftentimes, the simplest solution is best. Take feeding the world, for example. And most Americans would, if you sat them down and asked them, they would probably confess that they believe you have to have, you know what, I'm going to get down from this bale. I'm going to spook them a little when I jump off. Before I keep talking, the wind's blowing. If I get down among the animals, it won't be so bad. As farmers, we often think that we have to crop a field, we have to spray it, we have to till, we have to plant corn, we have to get crop insurance, we have to get our crops subsidized by the government, and then we do all that so that we can grow something. That's a forb there in the grass. I'm not sure what that is. I'll leave it to y'all YouTubers. I've not seen this before. It's not clover. Type of forb here. Cattle are eating it. But anyway, so we go ahead and grow corn, and we grow tens of thousands of acres of it in the US. And what do we do with all that corn? Well, half of it we go ahead and use for ethanol production, which is essentially gas that doesn't even perform right in your vehicles. It clogs. If you got an older vehicle, it clogs your carburetor. And if you got a newer vehicle, it's not going to be nearly as fuel efficient as just standard hydrocarbon chains in traditional gasoline. But we're going to grow that because apparently it makes somebody happy, and it's subsidized by the government. So we'll just go ahead and grow half the corn in the U.S. for ethanol production, and all that soil that we're losing is going to go into the Gulf of Mexico, and we're not going to get that back. And then we're going to take another huge percentage of our production, and we're going to feed that to cows. Animals that can eat grass that you really grows on its own naturally, and you really don't need, it doesn't take much other than management to grow grass. I mean, it's not that hard. You need water, you need fence, you need animals, you need the right kind of animals, and you need smaller framed animals that can harvest efficiently. You don't want a big 1,500-pound animal, or even bigger than that. So you get the right harvesting equipment, and you figure out how to grow this grass. That's simple, that's easy. Almost anybody can do that, and they don't even really need a lot of money. They needed some skills, and they can go to work somewhere. And so 75%, if not more, of the crops in the US, we really don't need. All those big tractors that they tell us are going to feed the world, they're just feeding special interest groups that want ethanol production and people that want us to eat corn-fed beef, which, by the way, isn't even that good for you. I don't know what it is. Maybe it'll come to me. Maybe somebody else has an idea. But why is it that we as humans always have to find a harder way to do something? Maybe it's because the simple way, the way God designed it, the natural way, doesn't satisfy the pride of our own hearts. Maybe doing things the easy way, we don't like that, because if we did it the easy way, we don't feel validated in ourselves and in our own mechanisms. I mean, here, the animals are doing the work. They're fertilizing. They're going to harvest the forage. They're going to prune it back so it'll regrow. I mean, we're in a drought right now. It's dry. There's actually a burn ban, either a burn ban or a strong burn warning. I forget which in effect today. You know, it's December 8th today. It's dry, but we've stockpiled forage, and, you know, we're going to feed some hay too. And right now, ahead of the animals, we're going to leave this paddock here in about 2 weeks and go through that gate into the top of the slope field. And from there, we've got, well, about 200 acres of the farm left that we're going to be grazing over winter. And I just didn't do that math in my head. I'm just estimating. We've got a lot of stockpile ahead of us. We've left a lot of residual. We did fall flash grazing. Not all of it came back. I mean, some of the fields, the tips were covered. Some of the fields didn't. It was we had a dry summer, and then we more or less had a dry fall, other than the 2 hurricanes we got. But I grazed really tall, so the animals performed well on grass that, at least for a very brief period, was washy. And when we go back, it's going to be a whole lot better from the dry weather and from the fescue, especially from the frost. So we'll get some pretty good gains on these animals. So far this winter, counting the bales that have already been put out, we put out a bunch of 5-footers and some 4-footers. We're buying in hay now, and most of the hay we're buying in is 4-foot bales. Previously, we'd been making our hay, so some of the that hay is the hay that we used to make, that was still stored in the barns. Those are 5-foot bales. But if you added it all up, we fed about 70 bales between the 4-foot and the 5-foot bales. And we're dealing here, I mean, our animal unit is not consistent because we are taking out, right now we've got 160 head. Animal unit wise, it's probably closer to 120. And we're gonna put heifers in, whatever heifers in our cow herd don't breed, they'll come here. Of course, we're going to be taking some out of this group for finishers, but really, most of what I'm doing as a farmer here comes down to observation and managing that and that. You make sure the animal's doing well, you make sure the grass, you're managing the grass well, and of course you're maintaining your fences and your watering infrastructure. And I don't want to oversimplify things. You know, Einstein, different quote than we think of when we think of Albert Einstein, but he said once, things should be made as simple as they can be, but not simpler. I don't want to oversimplify the fact of livestock. I get there's a lot that comes into selecting the right animal there, and you know, these animals, we're hoping to eventually get over to South Pole genetics. That's why we have brought in South Pole bulls, and we're breeding with our cows. We're not there yet. What you've got here is a lot of Angus genetics, so they're not performing the greatest on grass, but that's okay. We're gonna graze. We're gonna do a good job grazing, and the younger steers coming into our herd are gonna perform better. This little guy here, we're gonna see how he's gonna do. During the summertime, when the other black animals are in the shade, he's gonna be grazing longer. He's not gonna be burning off as many calories sweating. But I would just challenge anybody, if grass farming is what you want to do, find the simplest way to do it. Don't find the hardest way. Oftentimes we think that if we make our lives harder, we're doing what nobody else is doing and we're gonna get ahead. Reality is most people think that way. Most people think they have to do things the hardest way. They have to make life harder for themselves, and they have to try harder. They have to work harder. They have to cut corners on their sleep and on their family life and lifestyle to get where they want to go. Reality is, life's a mountain. There's not really a way around it, but there's a simpler way to approach it, and that's generally the way nobody else is going to do. And if you do that, you'll be ahead. And with that, gang, blessings for the journey, and keep it real.